spine, get the sit bones planted. Little movement through the ribs, the torso, the neck. Feel free to make some big circles around the hips. Still including moving through the ribs. Maybe switch direction. Just giving us a little initial movement. Once you come to that nice neutral seated position, roll the shoulders back, relax the hands and sit up tall. Pressing through the sit bones, reaching through the top of the head. Take a few deep breaths in through the nose. And sigh out. One more. Just take a few breaths here, allowing the hips and legs to settle. Feeling the inhale lengthen through the spine, reaching through the top of the head. The exhale flowing down the spine, melting away any tension in the face, jaw, neck, and shoulders. Just notice all your spinal muscles as you engage sitting up tall. Shoulders roll back as you engage. Then start to focus on your breath. Just noticing your inhales and exhales. Allowing the belly to expand with the inhale. Pulling the belly button in toward the spine on the exhale. Maybe your breath deepens, filling not just the belly, but reaching up into the ribs, expanding, even under the collarbones. Exhaling from the collarbones, cinching in the ribs, finally pulling the belly button in toward the spine, pushing all the air out. Take a few more rounds, deepening the breath. As you connect deeper to your breath, allow the face to soften. And instead of fighting with your thoughts, give yourself time to acknowledge each one. Just letting yourself see that thought for what it is, just words stringed together. Allow those thoughts to move on at their own pace, one by one. Allowing you to ground in, releasing breath by breath. On your next inhale, reach the arms out and up overhead. Exhale as you twist to the right and drop the hands in a big circle. Just holding there for a couple breaths, lengthening through the spine, noticing that twist. You can even look back over the right shoulder more. Inhale as you reach the hands back up to the sky, twisting back to the front. Exhale as you twist to the left, drop the hands. Holding there for a couple breaths, nice and tall. Maybe looking back over the left shoulder a little more. Inhale as you reach the hands back up, twisting back to the front. And then straighten the legs out. Engaging through the core, you can take a little rock side to side so you feel your sit bones pressing firmly into the mat. Now don't lock out the knees. Instead, let them relax and press through the soles of the feet. Reaching through the fingers, the top of the head, but relaxing the tops of the shoulders, actively pulling the shoulder blades down. Take a couple breaths here, engaging, not squeezing any of the muscles, but noticing. Exhale as you swan dive forward, dropping the hands wherever you like. You can always rest on the thighs, the knees, the shins, the mat. And as you fold, feel your heart reaching forward and pushing your sit bones back to keep your spine long. Give yourself a few more breaths. You can even take a little sway side to side if you like. Inhale as you come all the way back up to seated. I'm going to bring the right knee in for a half butterfly. Take a nice deep breath in as you lengthen up through the spine. And then bring the right hand back next to the right hip. From here, we're going to lift the hips, pressing into the right knee. So lift the hips, reach that left hand up. And just take a couple breaths, opening through the hips. Exhale as you sink the hips back down to seated. We're going to take that lift a couple times. You can always adjust if you want your knee more on the mat. Again, inhale as you press into the right shin, lift the hips. Push the hips forward as you open the chest, the front body, and just hold for a couple breaths. Slowly coming back to seated. Take that flow a couple times. You can even reach over to the foot and take a big side stretch. Exhale as you drop the hands. Inhale as you sweep the left arm up and open. Exhale, coming back to seated. Inhale as you reach with the right arm. Exhale as you release the right hand. Inhale, sweep the left arm up, opening the front body. One more time, coming back to seated. Exhale. Inhale for that side stretch. Exhale, right hand down. Inhale, lift. Come all the way back down to seated. And then straighten out the right leg. Give yourself another forward fold, big deep breath. Reach the arms out and up. Exhale as you hinge at the waist. Swan dive forward, releasing the hands wherever they happen to fall. Give yourself a couple breaths, lengthening the spine, heart reaching forward, hips reaching back. Inhale as you come all the way back up to seated. This time bending the left knee in for a half butterfly. We're going to bring that left hand back next to the hip. Inhale as you press into the left knee and reach the hips up. Right arm reaches up and just hold for a couple breaths, opening through the hips and the front of the body. Exhale as you come all the way back down to seated. Now again, if your knee's off the mat, you might want to scoot back so that your knee's supported. And then again, inhale as you sweep the arm up, press into the left knee and shin. Reach the hips forward, heart open, 2 breaths. Slowly allow yourself to come back to seated. We're going to take this flow a few times. Now you can even incorporate that side stretch with the left side body, reaching left arm overhead. Exhale as you release the left hand back to your hip. Inhale as you press into the left knee. Reach the right arm up, open the heart. Exhale, coming all the way back down to seated. Inhale as you take that side stretch. Exhale, left hand back to the mat. Inhale as you sweep up and press forward. Take one more. Come back down to seated. Straighten the left leg out. Bring your hands behind you. And plant the feet, bend the knees. Give your knees a little sway side to side for a moment. And now you might notice that you're sinking into your shoulders. So press the hands into the mat so you lengthen the collarbones and open the chest. Now from here, start to engage the core. Now a lot of times we think of just like sucking in the belly when you think engage the core, but instead think about the ribs, bringing them together in the front. So you know you have that space in the ribs. Think about bringing those hanging ribs together, and you'll notice the abdominal muscles start to engage instead of squeeze. Now you can have your fingertips turned out, or they can be facing behind you. It's really whatever feels best for your hand. Planting the feet, knees bent. Open the chest first. Then from here, press into the feet and start to lift the hips, engaging the abdominals, cinching in the ribs. Now you can keep looking at the knees or looking at the belly button, or you can look up at the sky or drop your head back. Just keep the chest open, hips open, pressing into feet and hands. Hold 3, 2, 1. Slowly release the hips all the way back down. Now we're going to do this a few times. If your shoulders start to hurt, you can always just lay on your back and do these as bridge lifts. But if you're trying to strengthen those shoulders, keep working them. And notice if you sink into the shoulders. I always end up doing that. Now when you're ready, again, engage the core. We're going to do a little play with the legs once you lift, cinching in the ribs. Keep the hips even and shift the weight to the right foot, straightening the left leg out and hold. 3, 2, 1. Release the right foot. See if you can shift the weight to the left foot and straighten the right foot out and hold. 3, 2, 1. Release the right foot. Then release the hips. Maybe give your shoulders a break. Hug the knees into the chest and give yourself little rocks forward and back. Allow yourself to come onto the back, plant the feet, and then cross the arms over the chest. Now try to keep the elbows away from the face. It's easy to let them come up to the chin, but bring them down. Relax the hands if you can, or you can hug onto your torso. Give yourself a few breaths, releasing through the shoulder blades, the sides of the shoulders. Now from here, you can just rest, or if you want a little bit more, start to reach the right foot up to the sky. Press through the heel. Notice the back of the leg engage, the glute engage. Then point through the toe, noticing the shin, the thigh. Now, you can choose to do flex, back of the leg, hamstring, or point, front of the leg, thigh. And when you're ready, press into the left foot and lift the hips. Hold 3, 2, 1. See if you can cross that right knee over the left. And press that right knee down. So you're squeezing the thighs, helping you lift the hips. Hold 3, 2, 1. Slowly release the hips all the way back down. Keep the legs crossed, right over left. And we're going to let the legs fall over to the left for a twist. Now if you want, you can unravel the arms and reach the right arm out, looking over at the hand. Give yourself a few breaths. Slowly bring the legs back to center, uncross them, and then switch that cross in the arms. Now if your arms feel stretched here, you can even reach them overhead and try to hold on to opposite elbows, dropping the elbows back, shoulders back onto the mat, allowing you to open through the triceps. Now you can always stay here and rest. Or if you want a little bit more engagement, start to lift the left foot up to the sky. Pressing through the heel, notice that engagement through the back of the leg, the hamstring through to the heel. Then start to point through the toe, noticing the front of the leg engaged through the shin, the thigh. Now it's your choice to either do flex using the back of the leg or point, focusing on the front of the leg. And when you're ready, press into that right foot and lift the hips for a one leg bridge. Hold 3, 2, 1. Start to bend the left knee and cross it over the right. Pressing that left knee down so you're squeezing the thighs. Lift the hips, hold 3, 2, 1. Slowly release the hips. Keep the legs crossed. Let them fall over to the right for your twist. You can release the hands, reaching the left hand out to the side and just melt in for a couple breaths. Slowly bring the legs back to center, uncrossing them. Back your knees into your chest and give yourself a little rock side to side. Allow yourself to rock forward and back. And come all the way back up to seated. Cross the ankles. Let yourself come all the way up to tabletop. From here, take a little cat and cow at your own pace. Inhale as you drop the belly, flex the spine, looking up. Keep the ears and shoulders away from each other. On an exhale, start to round the back, tuck the chin and tailbone, and reach the back of the ribs up to the ceiling. Bringing that low belly in. Take a couple more at your own pace. You can always hold for multiple breaths, or you can travel one breath at a time. You can even give yourself a little rock side to side with the ribs. Maybe a couple jump ropes, reaching the ribs out in all directions. Come back to neutral and find a child's pose. Take the knees wide, big toes together, settle back toward the hips. Melt in the forehead, elbows. Allowing the spine to lengthen, the back of the neck to lengthen, just connecting back to the breath. Just allowing your body to settle. If you want more of a tricep in the back of the shoulder stretch, you can bring your palms together like prayer. Bend the elbows and drop the hands behind the head. Now, if you want a little bit more stretch and you have some blocks or some books or just something you can use for a little height, you can always put that underneath the elbows just to give you a little bit extra stretch. And again, you want to think about lengthening the triceps. You're pulling back on the elbows instead of pushing yourself forward. Whenever you're ready, come back to tabletop. From there, we're going to tuck the toes, so lift the hips and press back to downward dog. Give yourself some time to pedal out the feet, just bending and straightening the legs at a time. Maybe sway the hips a little side to side. And then inhale, rock forward to plank. Wrists underneath shoulders, engaging core, thighs, glutes. Option to drop the knees. And then rock forward to chaturanga, elbows close. Releasing all the way down on the belly. Bring the hands under the shoulders. Use the front of the hips and the tops of the feet to press into the mat. Inhale, roll the shoulders back. Engage the lower belly and abdominals. Exhale as you release. So as you roll up, you want to feel the engagement start and the toes on the tops of the feet pressing down, rolling up to the thighs to engage the glutes, the front of the hips pressing down. Then as you roll up, engage the abdominals. So you're engaging your spine, engaging your abdominals. Your hands are just there to help you roll the shoulders back and give you a little bit of support. Exhale to release. Take one more at your own pace. After that last lift, reach the hands out to a T like you're hugging the floor. Turn the left cheek to the floor. Bend the knees and sway the feet side to side. Now you can stay there if you're getting a nice shoulder stretch. If you want more, flip the pinky fingers to face up. So the back of the hands are facing behind you. And then bring the hands behind you. You can interlace the fingers. And then pull the fist away. If you want, you can even drop your forehead to the floor. Give yourself a couple breaths. Pointing back through the fingers. Reaching through the arms and shoulders, not trying to pull back. Slowly release the hands. Leave them palms facing the ceiling. Turn the right cheek to the floor. And start to take some big circles with the feet. Maybe switch in direction. Release the legs. Bring the hands back next to the ribs. We're going to come to upward dog, thinking of it as a lifted cobra. So again, start with the toes and the tops of the feet, engage, pressing down through the mat. Then the thighs and glutes. Engage the belly, the back. Press the hands in to straighten them. Pressing the shoulders down away from the ears. 2 breaths. Firm up through plank. And then press back to downward dog. Feel free to bend the knees. You can even pedal out the feet or sway the hips, whatever movement you want to take. Inhale as you reach that right leg up to the sky, 3-legged dog. Reach through the toes and take a couple breaths. Don't just throw that leg up there. Reach up through the toes. And then press down through the left heel. It doesn't have to meet the floor. You just want that engagement through the back of the left leg, the front of the right. Slowly release that right foot back to the mat. Inhale, reach the left leg up to the sky. Reach through the toes. And start to press down, reaching through the right heel. It doesn't have to meet the mat. Just getting that back of the right leg, front of the left. Slowly release that left leg back to the mat. Nice deep breath in. Exhale as you walk your feet and hands together. Come into forward fold. Bend the knees. Give yourself a little sway side to side. You can grab elbows if you want. Maybe nod and shake, yes and no. Release the arms. Inhale, halfway lift, looking forward. Exhale as you release. Bend the knees. Inhale as you press through the feet as you come all the way up to standing. Reach the arms out and up. Palms together, down to heart. When you're ready, step that right foot forward, left foot back. Bending the right knee, spinning the left heel down for warrior one. Hips facing the front. Engage the glutes, the thighs, and reach the arms up. Nice deep breath in. Relax the shoulders, pulling the shoulder blades down actively. 2 breaths here. Inhale as you straighten the right leg. Start to reach the arms out to a cactus or a T, opening the chest. Keep engaging through the glutes and thighs. You can stay facing forward, or if you want to twist to the right for more, start to twist, engage the glutes and pull back on the right hip. So I'm thinking about really bringing the inner thighs together. Maybe even looking back at the right hand if you want a lot of challenge. Slowly twist all the way back to the front. Bend the right knee. Sweep the arms back and reach the heart forward for a humble warrior. Feel like you're sitting into that right glute, but your hips are still facing the front. You can keep the hands back or interlace the fingers, pulling the fist back away from you. If you want it more intense, you can drop the right shoulder inside the knee. Slowly release the hands. Plant them on the mat, lift the hips, and step back to downward dog. Give yourself a little pedal out in the feet, sway the hips, whatever movement you want to take. Nice deep breath in. Exhale as you walk your feet towards your hands, coming back to forward fold for a couple breaths. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Bend the knees. Inhale, roll all the way up to standing, arms out and up. Palms together, down to heart. Drop the hands to hips. Left foot steps forward, right foot steps back. Bend the left knee. Dropping the right heel back for warrior one. Hips are facing the front. Engage glutes and thighs. You can keep your hands on hips to heart or deep breath as you reach them overhead. Take 2 more breaths, relaxing the shoulders, pulling them down actively. Inhale as you straighten the left leg. Reach the arms out to cactus or T. Staying engaged in the glutes and thighs, you can stay facing forward or twist to the left, keeping engaged in the glutes and thighs, pulling back on the left hip, trying to bring the inner thighs together. Maybe looking back at the left hand for a lot more challenge. Slowly twist back to the front. Bend the left knee, sweep the arms back for humble warrior, heart forward. Sitting into the left glute, hips still facing the front. You can keep the hands reaching back or interlace the fingers. Pull the fist away from you. You can stay there if you want more, dropping the left shoulder inside the knee. Slowly release the hands. Plant them firm, lift the hips, and step back to downward dog. Pedal out the feet, sway the hips, just a couple breaths. And start to bend the right knee, bringing the shin forward. And instead of a pigeon pose, let yourself sit down. And so you're finding this deer pose here. So it's a version of pigeon. Letting the left knee bend back and the right knee bend forward. Try to see if you can allow your hips to get settled or as subtle as they're going to be. Take a couple deep breaths sitting up tall. And slowly start to twist over to the left. And take a couple breaths. Continually settling, especially through that left hip. Slowly twist back to the front. You can stay upright, or if you want to take a fold, start to fold forward over that right shin. Try to keep both sit bones down on the mat, and just give yourself some time. Don't try to force the stretch. Being very gentle and mindful of that left hip. Inhale as you slowly come back up. We're going to take a little twist over to the right once you get there. Now from here, we're going to kind of roll onto the right hip. You can keep the left foot kind of pushing into the right knee, foot pushing into left knee. We're going to twist the chest down toward the floor. So you're going to start to get this stretch through the lower back on the left side, the left hip. And just give yourself time to melt. Inhale as you slowly start to come all the way back up. I'm going to switch sides. So lean back on the hands and start to bring the legs over to the other side. Bending the left shin in front, the right knee back. Now give yourself time. I like to bring that left foot up against the right thigh and knee. Adjust as much as you need, trying to get that right sit bone flat on the mat. Lengthening up through the spine, take a couple breaths. And gradually start to twist over to the right. Just hold there for a few breaths, continually relaxing, releasing through that right hip. Slowly twist back to the front. And you can stay right here up tall. Or if you want to start to fold, allow yourself to fold forward over the left shin. And give yourself time, many breaths, releasing, trying to keep that right sit bone glued to the mat. Don't try to force this stretch. Give yourself as much time as you can. It shouldn't be painful. You should just feel a little challenging stretch. Inhale as you slowly come all the way back up to seated. We're going to take a twist over to the left. We're going to start to roll onto the left hip. I like to keep the left foot pressing into the right thigh, so you start to feel this opening as you twist the chest down toward the floor. Feeling that opening through the right side, lower back, into the right hip. And just give yourself a few more breaths melting into that twist. Inhale as you slowly come all the way back up to seated. Bring your hands behind you, start to straighten out your legs, and then just let yourself lay down onto the spine. Give yourself some time, plant the feet and the knees, give yourself a little sway side to side. And you can stay right there, or you can hug your knees into your chest and take a little rock. You can stay there. If you want to find a happy baby, reach the feet up. You can bring the hands behind the knees, or let them come up to the legs, or you can catch a hold. Let yourself sway. You can make any shape you want with the legs, maybe butterfly. You could do a split or one leg at a time. Just give yourself a couple more breaths, whatever shape you want to make, whatever movement you want to take. Slowly reach the feet up to the sky, reach the hands up. Just let them hang there for a couple breaths. Get a little wiggle in the fingers and toes. Roll the wrists and the ankles. And I'm going to start to find Shavasana. So whenever you're ready, you can drop the feet, you can stay on your back, you can lay on your side or belly, or come to legs up the wall. Just give yourself some time finding that comfortable space. Once you find that comfortable space, take a deep breath in through the nose. And sigh out. Just allow yourself to melt into the mat. Releasing through the head, shoulders, hips, arms, and legs. Just give yourself many breaths, allowing yourself to melt in. Noticing the breath as it flows through the body. Releasing from the toes, through the soles of the feet, to the arches and heels and ankles. Releasing along the shins and calves, the fronts and the backs of the knees, along the thighs and hamstrings, with the fronts and backs of the hips. Relaxing through the spine, flowing from the shoulders, down the arms to the wrists, elbows, hands, and fingers. Releasing through the back of the neck, chin and jaw, the cheeks, the eyebrows, and forehead. Just give yourself a few more breaths. Just allowing yourself to melt.